Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you learn to make more money in less time and have a lot more fun. I'm your host, Paul Sanneman, and I'm founder of Contractor Staffing Source, where we help contractors build great teams. I have as my guest today, Toby Eborn. He's an executive with SEO Werkz, and Werkz is sort of spelt weird. How did that show up, Tony?
It's Toby with a B.
Toby. Sorry.
That's okay. Autocorrect hates my name, so it's
Right.
totally fine. The business has been around for about 11 years now. Really just started as a marketing service to work with small to medium-sized businesses. We've had a really great run as an organization. We're a team of about 160 employees. We service about 1,200 customers nationwide and do a lot of work in the contractor and service businesses area. That probably makes up 30% of our customer base, actually.
Okay. So there's a lot of action happening in marketing right now for contractors. I've noticed that. There's, I guess we could just for fun, let's tackle the AI and SEO subject just for fun. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've heard two schools of thought, and they can help me here. One school of thought is it takes a Terminator to kill a Terminator, a little facetious, but Google is using AI more and more, so it literally knows where you went to school, what you did, how long you're on the phone, how long you've been on your website. Like, it's getting weird. I mean, it's just like this spy on you that knows all about you. And I think the intention is obviously connect the right people with the right people. So the more it knows about you, I guess, the better decision it can make on where to put you on Google and who to recommend you to. Is that accurate?
Yeah, definitely. AI has a huge analytics component to it. And the real place where AI comes into play in the marketing world is that any of us, when we look at Google Analytics, we look at Google Search Console, we even go to platforms like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. There's so much data that exists for us there. The problem is there's not that many people that actually know what to do with that data. We look at it and everybody loves a good dashboard, right? But it's what you do with the information. And so the place where AI comes into play and can be really helpful is it can provide insights into what you should do with that data. So that's a huge up and coming industry within AI is analytics and insights within analytics. So that'll definitely be something that over the next 8 to 12 months, you're going to see a lot of progress happen there.
So I've heard two schools of thought. One says that, if you use AI, you can put a lot more stuff out faster, obviously, because it produces stuff like crazy. Whether it's, all social media, AI is way faster at producing than a human being, for sure, right? It produces like. Now, the other argument is, no, don't use AI to produce your content because Google downgrades AI and it doesn't like AI. Can you give me your opinion on those?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of both, actually. There's truth in both of those. One, AI does help you put out content much faster. But there is truth in that Google does show preferential treatment into human-created content. So the thing to keep in mind with AI is that it is not producing original content. It's aggregating content. It's basically scanned and aggregated as much information as there is out there on a particular subject. So when you ask AI to create a blog post about the 5 things you should do before you start a construction project, for example, it's aggregating that data from somewhere else on the internet and putting it into an original piece. But that content can still be scanned and analyzed. And if it shows up as duplicate content, the search engine, Google's algorithm will ding you for publishing duplicate content.
But isn't it all? I mean, somebody went through, there's no such thing as an original thought. I forget, some philosopher somewhere. So when I look at, let's say I want to write stuff, the 5 best things about recruiting, or the 5 ways to hire a contractor, what you look for. If I have ChatGPT write it, or I write it, it looks the same because I'm pulling from the same sources as ChatGPT is. So like, they're the basics, 5 things to look for in a contractor. I can have ChatGPT do it, or I can do it, and it looks the same to me.
Sure. And the boiler points of the content that gets produced by ChatGPT or by you can be the same. The problem is that if you have ChatGPT do it, it literally is the same. It's the same as something that exists somewhere else. Whereas if you take those same boiler points and you write it out in your voice, your perspective, you add your thoughts to it, I agree with the idea that there's not an original thought anymore. Not very often is there original thought. And most of the time when there is, people think that person's crazy. But you do have a specific way of communicating. I have a specific way of communicating. The way I would say something is different than the way you would say it.
But
that's where the unique quality comes in.
The question I have is, if I have I say I've written a book, I've written some blogs, I've done personally, 400 podcasts in my life, right? So I've got a lot of content. Can I have AI like ChatGPT? I put all 400 podcasts into ChatGPT. I put all, thousands of pages of stuff in there and say, okay, I want you to be me, because it can learn my style, how I talk, who I am. And can it produce stuff about me as good as I can produce about me?
It'll be close. It won't, I don't think it'll be as good as if it was you, but here's the way we utilize ChatGPT, because we write blog posts for, hundreds and hundreds of companies. And so we use ChatGPT to look at the existing content that was already been written on behalf of that client. So just like you're talking, here's all the other stuff that we have. Here's the website. Write a piece of content on topic XYZ in this voice. And it spits something out. But then what you still need to do is you still need to have a person, go back and read that to make sure that it makes sense. The other thing is that ChatGPT doesn't have context. It doesn't have logic in the way that we as people do. So it's just giving you an output. You still need a person to look at it and say, wait, this doesn't actually make sense. This is a little bit broken in how they're communicating this. So you still need to have human editing before you go and publish it. If you just produce AI content and hit the publish button, yes, you're going to get a lot of content out there. You have a high likelihood that you're going to get dinged for it. You're definitely not going to get preferential treatment in the search engine. There's actually some really in-depth studies that show that the visibility that Google gives to human written content versus purely AI written content, it's a significant difference. So you definitely
how does it tell the difference?
It actually has, again, when AI writes content, it's not writing original content. It's aggregating pieces of content from other websites. And so if you just have AI do it and you publish it out, the algorithm actually knows that content came from somewhere else. There are programs out there that scan content for duplication. In the same way that, like, when you're in college, there's, you can run something through and find out if you plagiarize something, like a plagiarize check. So there's those same kind of software exists for internet content.
Okay, so let's change that. So let's say your opinion is you can use AI to generate a bunch of stuff, but you need to read it and edit it before you publish it.
Correct.
Okay, so next question I have for you. There's a big debate, not debate, but certainly people have different opinions on, let's say you have a budget. First, how much should the budget be? I hear anywhere from 2% to 15% of the gross income. How do you make a determination on what's an appropriate amount to spend for a remodeling company, a builder, all in construction, on your budget, that it's the right amount, whatever that means?
Yeah. I mean, my experience and my opinion is that typically you should be taking anywhere from 5 to 15% of your top line revenue and reinvesting back in marketing. But that's overall marketing, right? So that could be advertising spend, that could be print material, it could be digital, like so SEO, social media advertising.
I have a more personal question. So let's say in my company, I do all the sales, and I'm not cheap. And then I have 4 people that work with me. They all work on sales. And then I spend money on conferences and SEO and a bunch of other stuff. Does that all count for marketing, or do I discount my salary and other salaries?
Yeah, you gotta take somebody out. You got to take salaries out of that marketing expense. Because you serve multiple components. I mean, I suppose you could say if you dedicate 20% of your time to the marketing, then you could allocate 20% of your salary into that budget. But generally, like for my team, I have a team of 5 salespeople. My salespeople budget does not factor into my marketing budget.
Okay.
But I do have a marketing manager who oversees our advertising and things like that. That person's salary is in that marketing budget.
Okay. So there's a big difference between 5 and 15%. How do you determine that number if you're a company? What you look at, you go to Google and say, what does the average remodeling company spend on marketing? How do you find that number for a company?
Yeah, I think I mean, you can do those kinds of searches, but I don't know that there's no database of how much people don't publicize the amount that their budget is. It's
Right.
all estimates. I think you have to just start somewhere. And then you have to start analyzing ROI, right? Like you have to look at, I spent this much in marketing, I acquired this many customers. The average value, lifetime value of the customer that I acquired is this. And then does that money make sense? And if it does, then scale it, right? How scalable is that? That's where your marketing discussion comes in. So if I'm a contractor and I have to spend $3,000 to acquire a new customer, but that customer does a $45,000 job with me, does that return, take materials out, all those other expenses? What I make off of that job, is that worth spending $3,000 to acquire that customer? If the answer is absolutely, then the question is, how many can I handle? And can I scale to that speed to be able to bring on that many
Yeah,
customers?
and well, scaling is an interesting issue because you go like, say there's two there. While we got to by scaling, we can talk about there's two buckets, big buckets. One is branding, trucks, SEO, website, everything you need to build a brand in your market. All right.
Yeah.
Be the hero within 5 miles, wherever that is, right?
Yeah.
And then there's pay-per-click. There's all kinds of sites you can, there's paying for leads in one form or another. Google has a bunch of ways to do that, and other companies do. So how do you determine, is it 50-50, 60-40? How do you determine what goes in what bucket? Because let's say you've got, I'm picking a number, $100,000 marketing budget, right? You're a $1 million company, or let's say a $5 million company, you spend $100,000 marketing. Where does it go? How do you make those kind of decisions on where to spend the money?
Yeah, so I think ultimately, I think you talk to a strategist who is going to be able to give you that kind of advice. Marketing and branding is really about taking up real estate, right? Like we have to convince people, because especially in the contractor business, most of these things, most of the services people provide are either emergent, I got something that's broken that needs to be fixed, or I have a project that I want to do. And so
Right.
the shopping is not always, so for example, for the ones that are emergent fix, plumbers, electricians, something like that, something broke, I need something fixed, HVAC repair. They want to be front and center. So pay-per-click advertising is a huge way to go. You should have a focus on your local SEO. So what shows up in the map listings, because that shows your reviews, shows quick contact information, and those offer huge buying signals to consumers. But if what I am is I'm a construction company and I can build lots, I can do commercial real estate, I could do residential, whatever those are, then I just need presence. And so then things like SEO become important. So there's not one specific answer across the board. This is how you should allocate the money. People go through different buying cycles, and each of these different channels that you can market in, local SEO, search engine optimization, pay-per-click advertising, social media advertising, mailers, commercial, television, billboards, they all serve a different place in the buying funnel, in the decision-making funnel.
Well, and the question I have is really difficult. I called you, right? Now, I found your number on your website, but that's because I saw your truck, I saw your sign, my neighbor said you were good. I mean, there could be 10 touch points before I made the phone call. And yet the guy that has a website, oh, your website worked. The guy called you from your website. Well, not really, right?
I'm a big believer that marketing is an aggregate thing. Like if you look at, so for example, you said you have a $100,000 budget for your marketing. I think you have to look back over a year and say, what happened with our budget? Did we see more phone calls, more reviews, more interaction on social media, more traffic to the website, more deals, like more business? And then you have to look at that in aggregate. Now, then you can start to dig into the micro view of each of these different channels. Well, this channel didn't perform particularly well. I'll give you an example.
How do you tell? I mean, when the person calls, do you like interview the clients that came in and say, where'd you hear of us? And people are going to say, I don't know. I just remember I thought about a contractor and you came to mind and I looked you up and called you.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes there's not a way to know that without just asking the person. And you're right. A lot of the consumers are not going to be like, I don't know. I just saw your name and I thought I'd call you. But there are analytics that you can put on your website. So you can actually find out how many touch points. attributes. You can know that a person saw your pay-per-click ad, like we gave them exposure on the pay-per-click ad. They clicked on the ad, they came to the website, they left. 2 weeks later, we then showed them display ads around the internet for a couple of weeks. They saw the ad 6 or 7 times. Then they opened up a browser on their tab and they just went straight to the website. And then they filled out a form or they made a phone call. That's called attribution modeling. You can diagram.
How do you find that out?
It's inside Google Analytics. So again, you have to have somebody who knows how to set all of that attribution modeling up and provide you a report that shows that kind of information. But again, it's not going to show everything, because if you're doing any type of traditional media, so printed on the side of a truck, they saw you at a trade show, they saw a billboard, they heard something on the radio.
It could be radio, it could be
There's
YouTube,
not a way
it could
to
be a
know.
lot of stuff, right?
Yeah, there's not a way to know the answer to all of it. And that's why I say you kind of have to look at it in aggregate and say, this was our total marketing effort. And we either grew or we didn't. And then you can start to analyze which channels performed better. And then the ones that you don't have information on, the question isn't, well, should we keep doing it? The question is, how do I get better data on what happened with that?
Yeah, because I've talked to a lot of contractors go, oh, my marketing budget's a waste. They keep, I'm on my 4th marketing company and it's not working. I've heard that before, right? Yeah. And so there's a lot of, I can call it cynicism, for lack of a better term, in the marketing arena, because absolutely. Contractors are not marketing driven. I mean, I'm of the belief, which I've been coaching for 40 years, and I've yet to convince people, that you're a marketing company that funds your marketing with a product or service. I believe that's true, but most contractors don't buy into that concept.
Right. They look at everything as A plus B equals C. Like,
right.
I gave this company this much money, I got this much business, which equals this much revenue for me.
Right.
And they look at it as very granular, very linear that way. And the reality is the marketing isn't super linear. Now, it can be from time to time. Like if I launch a brand new website, I have no presence on the internet, I put $10,000 into a marketing campaign, all on social media, and I go and sell $50,000 of product, that's a direct line, right? I know, right, because there's no other attribution for it. It had to come from there. But these companies that have been around, a lot of these contractor companies, have been around for a long time, sometimes generations. And so right, again, you have to just look at it as, here's our overall effort. We want to maintain our place in the market. We don't want to lose ground to an up and coming company. I always think it's fun when companies are like, well, this other company is not as good as we are, and they've only been around for 2 years and they're beating us.
Yeah, now that brings up what I'm going to call the Walmart syndrome, okay? Because you're great, Toby, you're great talking about this. I call the Walmart syndrome. And if you look at what happened in America in general, be very, general about this thing. There's lots of towns in America where downtown maintain most of the retail. Yep. Your supermarket, grocery, they're all doing it. And they were complaining, I can't find employees, I can't get enough business. We'll complain, right? And then Walmart builds a store, or Target builds a store 2 miles out of town and finds 500 employees from someplace, right? Markets the butt off, and all of a sudden they're sucking all this business out of downtown because they're a better marketing and they're better at business than the guys that owned the drugstore for 10 years.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Now, I think it's been a long time coming, but it's finally happening in construction. What's happening is with AI, it's disrupting a lot of industries where, literally, if you got ChatGPT 4.0, who needs a psychiatrist or an astrologer, right? You go to phone. I did the other day, a friend of mine, we were playing golf, and he says, okay, my Saturn was returning. Tell me what I should know. Best astrologer you could ever find was ChatGPT. It did all the analysis of his return. So who needs an astrologer? So what's happening is when you're selling information for money, that's getting disrupted hugely by AI. The hundreds and hundreds of millions that were going into that have to go someplace because people have to invest money somewhere. Now it's going into stuff that AI can't disrupt. Like it can't put in a faucet, can't build a house. It's a long way from actually doing stuff, not just manipulating information. So all this capital is coming in. I've never seen it before into construction. Now, I'm a roofing company. I've been doing roofing in Springfield, Illinois, or whatever for a long time. 4th generation or 2nd generation. My dad did it. We all know roofing. We're really great roofers. All right. Somebody comes in and says, I got 10 million bucks. I'm going to start a roofing company. Why not? How hard is that to do? Right? They know marketing. They know recruiting. They hire a company like mine to put the team together. They go in, they spend a ton of money on Google and marketing, build a presence, and they're going to suck all the business away from the guy who's been there for 15 years.
Yeah.
What can the guy who's been there for 15 years do about it?
Yeah, he can just up his marketing game like that. I mean, and I truly believe that companies come in and take business away because they're better at marketing. They're willing to be more aggressive. And this is where unfortunately, there has to be a mentality shift amongst an older generation versus a newer generation. Physical products and services will always be in high demand. People will need to fix their roofs. They will need plumbers. They will need electricians. They will need their air conditioning to be repaired. They will want to build a new house, and they will go to the internet to find those people. And so the people that win the day are the ones that take up real estate online. You look at, in my business, we call it the search engine results page. So when I do a Google search for anything, I see a bunch of listings. I see sponsored ads. So those are pay-per-click ads. I see a map that has businesses that are local to where I'm at. Now, even if I didn't do a geographic search and say, I'm in the Salt Lake City area. So if I do a search that says roofing repair, Salt Lake City, but I could just say roofing repair, Google knows where I'm at because I'm signed into my Mac or I'm on my iPhone and I'm tied to a network and it knows where I'm at. So it's going to feed me results based on that. But if you haven't built your site and your online presence to be optimized for that search, I'm nowhere to be found, which means the person who does go through the effort to do it gets the visibility, gets the phone call, wins the business, even if they're not as good at it. Like, I'm under no illusion that the people that rank the best for products and services, I don't think they're the best.
Well, I mean, see, you choose the best. You choose a person who's the best at marketing, not who's the best at delivering the service. Unfortunately, that's true. Right?
Correct. Yeah. And so if you genuinely feel like you are the best at a service, you will still lose market share if you don't become the best at marketing or hire someone who can take care of the marketing and do it effectively for you.
So I assume, it's sad but true. I assume that's what you do, right?
That's what we do. Yeah.
So if I'm concerned about my marketing, either my current marketing isn't working the way I want it to, or I haven't done marketing, I'm going, oh my God, I better get on the train or I'm going to get run over. How do they contact you and what do you provide for them?
Yeah. So they can email me, they can call me on my phone. Like I'm happy to provide any of that info. And then I just do an audit. Like I have a system where I go through and I do an audit. I do an evaluation of their website, of their online presence. I look at their Google business profile. I can look at their social media. And again, I've been doing this for, over a decade now, and I'm like to feel like I'm pretty good at it. I've had good experience and success with my company to be able to offer at least what I would consider to be very sound advice and honest advice. Like that's the other thing is we're in an industry that's unregulated. A lot of people just say what they have to get you to give them your money.
Right. Now, how much does that analysis cost?
It doesn't cost anything. I'm happy to just talk with people. If they want to really, if I get larger companies that have a lot of traffic to their website and they want to really do a deep dive analysis on what's happening, we have paid audits where we can look at stuff like that. But if a roofer or a contractor wants to just, hey, I think it's time to really consider what we're doing here and see what we can do, I'm happy to do those audits. They don't cost anything. So
you'll tell them whether their current marketing strategy or company is working, or even though you're spending a lot of money, we can't find you on Google or whatever, right? You'll be able to tell them what's working, what's not. If the current company is doing a good job, I'm sure you'll say, hey, you're good, your company's great. But if they're not, you'll say, you know what?
Here's the areas for
here's a consideration you should make before you're spending your next $100,000 on marketing, right?
Yep. Just give them an analysis and say, here are the things I would look at. Here's the areas that are kind of the quick wins. These are easy things that are easy to fix. Here's a long-term growth strategy. And then I can obviously, if people want to engage our services, we can lay out what the cost is to
Okay.
work with our team.
And
Yeah.
how big does a company have to be to make you make sense? $1 million?
Yeah, I mean, probably $1 million at that point. I mean, we do have service offerings for companies that are small. But I mean, our sweet spot where we can really just crush it for people is businesses that are, I would say, $2 to $50 million.
Okay.
We can start, but typically businesses that are doing $1 million, they tend to be high overhead. And so there's not
Right.
huge margin for them. So they're not investing a lot in marketing. But again, if people have the ability to put money into their marketing, we can help them. We have companies that have no revenue that we work with that we do great work for, but they know they're making an investment in the marketing and it turns into revenue later. So
okay, great. So
yeah,
how do people reach you, Toby? They just go to SEO Werkz, spelled really weird.
yeah,
SEO.
so my email is easy. It's Toby, TOBY at SEOWERKZ.com. We actually, I'll drop this out here because this won't come out for a little bit, but we're actually in the middle of rebranding our business. So you'll be able to reach me at Toby at upwardengine.com. That's the new brand that we're coming out with.
Okay.
Upwardengine.com. I'm happy to give my cell phone number out. Like people
Just
text
give it,
me
just
out.
state it out now because it's going to be a podcast. So just what is it?
Yeah. So it's 40251-9594. That's my cell number. Shoot me a text. I'm pretty quick to respond to text. If you call me and I don't answer, it's probably because I'm in a meeting, but I can usually get text done.
Okay. So if you have any question about whether you're spending the right amount or spending on the right things in marketing, they should call you, right?
Yeah. Give me a call. I'd love to talk to them.
Okay. Thanks, Toby. I really appreciate your time. This is very valuable.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.